Students, today we are going to look at a new novel, Funny Boy, written by Shyam Selvadurai. The author was born in Colombo, Sri Lanka in 1965. He has a Sinhalese mother and a Tamil father, members of conflicting ethnic groups in Sri Lanka, whose troubles form a major backdrop of his first novel, Funny Boy, published in 1994. The ethnic riots between the Sinhalese and the Tamil in 1983 drove the entire Selvadurai family to emigrate to Canada when Selvadurai was only 19. He went on to study creative writing and theatre. Funny Boy is his first published novel, which won him acclaim and several awards. Now, coming to the novel is divided into 6 parts, namely Pigs Can't Fly, Radha Auntie, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Small Choices, The Best School of All, Riot Journal, and Epilogue. I hope you will all go through the novel, and so I'm going to skip giving you all a brief summary. Moving on to the narrative technique of the novel begins with the 7-year-old Arjie's narration, and the narration develops throughout the novel through the voice of the growing Arjie attaining his adolescence. The use of a child narrator proves to be quite significant in the novel because children are not yet corrupted by society. Therefore, their points of view are innocent, unbiased, naive, and also straightforward. This offers a sense of authenticity to the child's perspective, and the reader becomes aware about what they are reading, and also about the original thoughts of the child without the influence of the society. Children with their innate instinctive power can offer a new angle in which readers may make sense of what they are being told and how it is important to the work as a whole. Lastly, from young Arjie's perspective, the meaninglessness of linguistic tensions and racism is what the author is trying to point out. How baseless and artificial are such political strifes which are given undue importance by adults and which the child Arjie cannot understand at all. The political context of the novel becomes very important. Sri Lanka was involved in ethnic conflict since the country, formerly known as Ceylon, became independent from British rule in 1948. It is important to understand Sri Lanka's geographic population, which primarily comprises of the Sinhalese 82%, the Tamils 9.4%, and the rest, the Sri Lanka Moor 7.9%. In the years following independence, the Sinhalese, the majority population, wanted to make Sinhala the official language. In 1972, the Sinhalese changed the country's name from Ceylon and made Buddhism the nation's primary religion. Ethnic tensions between the Buddhist Sinhalese and the Hindu Tamils grew. This resulted in the massacre and mayhem of Black July. In 1983, Colombo saw the outbreak of massive anti-Tamil riots. This chaos was to continue for a week. This is known as Black July. The riots were triggered by the arrival in Colombo of the bodies of the 12 soldiers and 1 officer, all Sinhalese, who were murdered by the LTTE, or the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. According to official figure, the Black July riots left 371 Tamils dead, up to 100,000 homeless, and created 130,000 Tamilian refugees. Angry mobs with voters' lists in their hands during the Black July went on rampage and set fire to Tamil houses and businesses. Tamil persons on the road or in their homes were assaulted or killed in bestial fashion. This is very graphically also portrayed in the novel, where Arji's grandmother and grandfather are killed in these riots. The memory of the Black July riots is deeply embedded in the Tamil psyche. Many Tamil or pro-Tamil authors refer to the event as the genocide or the Holocaust of the Tamils. In the novel, we see, at the end, Arji's family moves to Canada like hundreds of other Tamils to escape the violence. Shyam Selvadurai's family similarly moved to Canada in 1983 when he was just 19. Now, students, we are going to look at the important themes of the novel. Gender norms. Gender is a key theme as reflected in the very first episode of the novel, which deals with Arji's awareness of gender and the roles that it plays in a heteronormative world. The first section opens with a scene where Arji was dressed up to play the role of a bride in a game they call Bride Bride. His role playing is exposed to the adults of the family and he is ridiculed. Gender stereotypes have been imposed by his family and it shows the separate world of girls and boys right from childhood. Arji's disregard of this social conditioning and donning of a sari in his childhood foresee his aversion to societal heteronormative norms. Homosexuality and queerness. In Funny Boy, funny is not used in the sense of jovial or humorous. Rather, when Uncle Cyril uses funny in reference to young Archie, he means it in the derogatory way of homosexual. He wants to point out at Archie being queer or outside the bounds of heteronormal. The novel charts the growing awareness of young Archie in respect to his awareness of gender norms and also with regard to his homosexuality. Archie, the protagonist, is considered to be funny because of his queer identity as he plays games like Bride Bride with girls and he loves to be in girls' territory as it gives him the potential for the free play of fantasy. Archie realizes his homosexual tendency first when he encounters Jagan. Later, Archie, when he has a sexual encounter with his schoolmate Shehan, he knew that he had done something wrong, which his family would never accept. He became aware of the word funny and the heteronormative world, whose significance he did not understand fully before. The heteronormative conditioning makes the homosexual Arji feel ashamed of his conduct and identity. Later on, he understands that his bond with Shehan is not just physical but also emotional, and he comes to accept his homosexuality. Linguistic tensions and ethnic conflict. Ethnic conflict is the major issue in Funny Boy, as it is set in the 1970s and early 80s, when ethnic conflict was at its peak in Sri Lanka. In the novel, the death of Daryl Uncle, who tried to investigate the role of the government in brutality towards the Tamils. Jagan, who is fired by his father because of his past association with the Tamil militant group, makes him aware of the extreme dimensions of the ethnic conflicts in Sri Lankan society. The tension between the Sinhalese and the Tamil population becomes very clear to him. Finally, this conflict forces the entire family to immigrate to Canada after the Black July riots. Diaspora. After the riots, the family immigrate to a new country that is Canada. Arji fears whether they will be unwelcomed there as well, or will they survive there as beggars. A huge Tamil diaspora resides in Canada who misses their native homeland of Sri Lanka. This alienation of the Tamil diaspora is also going to be a part of the experience of Arji and his family. The severance from one's homeland is a traumatic experience that forced diasporic communities face in the world. Love and choice. Arjun initially holds fantastical and romantic views of love seen from movies. But later, Arjun comes to understand love from the people around him. In the episode of Radha Auntie had to leave her Sinhalese lover, Anil Jaisinghe, because of the racial considerations of the society as she was attacked by a Sinhalese mob. She was a Tamil girl and the boy she loved was a Sinhalese. Later, she had to marry the Tamil Rajen Nagendra, the one with whom she did not want to marry initially. Even love is bound by communal and ethnic constraints, is Arji's realization after this episode. When Arji grows up, he accepts, after much consideration, his homosexual attraction for Shehan. He realizes all love is not heteronormative. Finally, coming to the most important theme of the novel, that is of identity. Identity politics is at the very heart of the conflict of the novel, both linguistic and sexual identity. Shyam Selvadurai shows how society can be divided on the basis of linguistic identity, which leads to ethnic violence, portrayed by the Sinhalese and Tamil violence. Archie was heartbroken when he became aware of the ethnic violence because of the different linguistic identity. Archie grew up with this experience and he had to face the horrible effects of his Tamil identity further in terms of solitude and isolation. His homosexual identity also shames him initially. Black tie, the principal, who gives selective beating to the not so manly boys, dictate how society treats the homosexuals. Arji's acceptance of his queer identity later in the novel is an important milestone for Arji in his growing self-awareness. Thank you, students, for hearing me. If you would like to hear a brief summary of the novel, please comment below.